There seems to be a lot of confusion as to what racism is, and people thinking that prejudice and bias is the same thing as racism. And it is absolutely 100% not. We need to have a scholastic, collegiate, academic definition of racism and not an elementary school definition of racism, which is, you don't like me because I'm this color. It's far more complex than that. I would not care if all racism is you don't like me because I'm this color. I don't care. What I care about is that you can kill me, and because of your white skin, you can literally get away with murder. What I care about is that there's places where I might want to buy a house, and because of housing discrimination and unfair policies, I can't buy a house there even though I have the money and I have the means to do so. What I care about is that we have schools still that are separate and equal. The schools of color, and I'm in them so I know, don't have the funding, don't have the resources, don't have high turnover, have substitute teachers working all year long, or people who are not qualified, et cetera, et cetera. And the rich white schools are doing very well. They have recess, they have catered lunches, their teachers are very well taken care of, very well paid, very different. So the thing with racism is you have to have bias plus power. And if you don't have the power to institutionalize these bias, then it's not racism, it's just bias. And the reality is that people of color can be mad or dislike or hate white people until they're blue in the face. But white people have enough they have enough structures and enough communities that they don't have to deal with us if they don't want to. So if you want to have your white bubble, as statistics and studies show that most white people have, most of their friends and their family and people they associate with are 90% white. So you could exist in your white bubble and never have to deal with any people of color who may not like you. And I'm just like, how? It's exasperating that white people want to minimize it to that and that you care that much. Like I said, I wouldn't care if you don't like me because I'm brown. I don't care. I care that my life is seen as less valuable, that you automatically assume I'm less intelligent. I care about those things. I care about my job prospects being reduced when I have an ethnic sounding name, 50%. I have a 50% less chance of getting the call back with the exact same experience. I care about things like that. I care about that I have to worry about my children in a way that white women don't have to worry about their children. Because police officers see your children as children. They see my children as threats. Not all police officers, but a lot. So please get over this notion of reverse racism. It doesn't exist. It's part of white fragility, meaning that you can't take it when we talk about racism. And I don't understand why you wouldn't understand that would be a problem for us. Like, if your foot is on my neck, I'm gonna feel some type of way about that. And white people, your foot has been on my people's neck for how many years? How many centuries has this been going on, where you've just been able to kill us and it ain't a thing? Where my history, that you forced us to be here, but my history's not in the history books. You don't tell people that we built this country. You don't tell people that we're the original people, we're kings and queens, that there was a time when there was no white folks. Oh, we don't get to learn that? So as long as the curriculum is Eurocentric, as long as we have all these policies that put white people in a position where they've won the game before they've even started playing, where you have a better chance of getting the job just because you don't have an ethnic sounding name, because you don't have an accent, or you get to come from nicer neighborhoods because your ancestors were able to get loans, your ancestors were able to move into those neighborhoods because there was nobody trying to kill you or bomb your house for moving into them, and all kind of thriving communities that black people and other brown communities had, and white people would come and bomb and destroy them. So don't talk to me about racism. You have no idea what racism is like. You have no idea what it is to wake up every morning and have to be a black woman in a country that has no respect and no love for you, even though you're the original woman, having to hold my head up high and continue to put my shoulders back and walk, with some respect and some dignity, even though everything in society is trying to take that from me. It is an act of resistance for me to have any type of confidence and pride. And I feel how people look at me as a black woman coming into a room, having confidence and pride, and then feeling some type of way about that, giving me sideways glances for how dare I walk around with confidence. You have no idea what it's like to endure racism. I wish it was just people not liking me, but it's me fearing my life and knowing that I'm not seen as human. I'm not seen on the same level. I have to fight and say things like Black Lives Matter because it's clear that my life doesn't. it's clear that that's still in the consciousness and the hearts and mind of people. So it's a slap in the face when white people want to say, oh, it's reverse racism, because you have no idea. You have no consciousness of what it is like to endure racism. You have no consciousness of how racist things are. And until you have that level of consciousness and start having those difficult conversations with the white people in your lives, it will continue to be this bad. And the reason why I am this passionate about it is because what is happening in our communities is unacceptable, and I will not become complicit or complacent about it. I will not think that the murder of Black and brown people is acceptable, that little migrant children dying in cages is acceptable when this is their freaking land, that Black kids being beaten by officers or other school officials in schools is acceptable, that Black and brown failure is acceptable. None of this is acceptable. And when it's time for us to do something about it. This is Charlotte Stevens with Healing Racism in Schools.